9 years and 500 episodes ago, I made the decision to start this podcast. I literally had no idea what was going to come out of it. I just knew that I wanted to have a way to support my collaboration partners, to add massive value to my community, and I wanted to have a show that would make a great impact. Well, here I am at the top 1%, according to Listen Notes. And I have evolved into a business coach that I didn't realize the world needed, but it was the perfect place for me to be. You are listening to Amplify Your Success podcast, and today is a really special episode. We are celebrating the 500th episode of every week, every Monday for just under 9 years. We've been showing up and delivering this conversation. If we're new friends, I am your host, Melanie Benson. I'm known as an authority amplifier to expert-based entrepreneurs and thought leaders who are ready to stop being a best-kept secret and start being the unignorable leader in their industry. I also have founded a Substack called Growth Fuel. I founded a really beautiful community called Rising Tide Collective, and I've been coaching people in my Authority Accelerator for, I don't know, like close to 7 years now. So I'm here to celebrate with you the Amplify community. For 9 years, we've been showing up together. Some of you have been here since the beginning, and some of you are newer friends and listeners, and I'm just really excited that you're here. I want to share 5 real kind of behind the scenes lessons, if you will. What has shaped me by showing up and hosting this podcast? And these are not like the typical things you might expect. I could have published a highlight reel of some of my favorite episodes, but oh my gosh, we have had so many amazing guests. I couldn't pick a short enough or a small enough highlight reel to really keep it under 2 hours. So thank you to all of the guests, to you as the listener, to the clients who showed up and delivered, the panel conversations, all of the unique conversations we've had here. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for contributing to this really beautiful experience called Amplify Your Success podcast. What I am going to do to celebrate, and I'm just going to take a minute to tell you what we're doing because I'm really excited about this. We are celebrating by bringing in what we're doing on Substack. So people come to me to help them start a podcast, to really build out their authority positioning, their thought leadership, and they say, where should I start the podcast? I'm all in on Substack. I'm really excited about what's happening, and you're going to experience more and more here. Conversations that have aired on my Growth Fuel channel and that I bring to you so that you can also tune in and listen. But if you want to jump in on these conversations from the get-go, you're definitely going to want to make sure you connect with me over there. And I'm going to make this worth your while to do it right now. So for 2 weeks, starting today, Monday, the day we air this episode, and for 2 weeks, I am celebrating with you on the Growth Fuel channel with one of 3 really fun gifts when you join me there. So first of all, I want everybody to have their name claimed on Substack. Like, even if you don't think you want to be active, I think you should at least claim your name. And that means you just sign in, you put your email, you grab your name. Because if you decide later you want it, you're going to be happy you did that. And if you subscribe and follow me on Growth Fuel, and you do have to subscribe, not just follow me, during these 2 weeks, you're going to get entered to win one of my Growth Fuel memberships. I'm going to not just give you a monthly membership, but 3 months of paid membership. That's right. It's a $66 value. So all you have to do is subscribe. And we're going to take all of the people that subscribed through the 2 week period, and we're going to put you in the contest, and we will draw those prizes the first day of the first week right after that segment is over. And if you're listening to this later, you're still going to want to subscribe because there's always cool stuff I'm doing. And that is massively valuable for you too. Now, if you're already a paid subscriber or you choose to upgrade to the paid membership, which is a steal of a deal if you ask me, you're automatically going to get entered to win one of 5 Substack growth audits. So we're going to give away 5 3-month memberships And we're going to, for you, if you've already joined and you're a paid member, you're going to get a growth audit. One of five people I will take, or sorry, if you're one of the five people that claim it, I am going to do an audit of your Substack or, maybe some other platform that you're interested in. But I want to give you real powerful feedback on where you are dormant in an opportunity to reach your ideal clients, to grow your message, to really be known clearly, succinctly, and powerfully for the work that you do in the world. This is a major optimizer. Normally, I charge at least $500 for an audit. It is recorded, it'll be aired inside the channel. Super, super valuable. So, all you have to do is upgrade during the 2 week window. And if you've already upgraded, you'll also be included. And then we'll pull those names at the end of the contest window and announce who's getting them and share them in our Substack chat for the subscribers. So I'm very excited about this. I love doing audits. People freaking love getting the feedback, and it's going to be exciting. Now, here's the grand prize. And then I promise we'll get into today's episode. The grand prize. So everyone who upgrades to annual paid member during the 2 weeks or before is going to get access to the 5-day collaboration currency challenge. And this is going to help you grow your audience through collaborations right here on Substack. You can apply everything to other types of collaborations as well. You're going to be able to build your community and really up your referrals through aligned strategic partners. So this is a $500 program that you're going to get access to, and you can follow along right inside the Growth Fuel community inside of Substack here. Super excited about all this. And really, this is just our way of celebrating with you and let's build some momentum together, right? Like there's nothing more powerful than community. And that's one of the things that Substack is doing so well. So everything closes on July 31st. The winners will be announced on August 3rd, and we'll let you know who's winning what. Now, let's get into today's episode. As I mentioned, I'm 9 years in. I've been podcasting way before that with my first podcast, but this podcast is at 500 episodes. And we might look at this as a content milestone. It certainly is for a lot of people who get stuck in the pod fade. But I have seen something more like a leadership initiation. When you stick with your podcast and you stay in momentum, you do rise above a lot of the noise and you start to establish a voice that people turn to in the community and your industry. So I want to open my first kind of observation and learning of who I became through hosting this podcast and showing up is the power of momentum. Now, I'm a manifester in the human design world, and, consistency is not really in our wiring. And I will fully admit there have been a lot of times I was not motivated to record an episode. I didn't have any great subjects to cover. I felt pretty uninspired, especially when there were the appearances that it wasn't doing much for my business, because we all go through those periods. But here's what I do know, and having a system, having a team, and having a commitment to be weekly meant that I plugged in and I figured it out. And I stayed in the momentum and I let the current of the system pull me forward. And sometimes it would look like I was brainstorming with my team, or I'd go back to coaching conversations, or I'd ask people, like, what do you want to hear about? And it wasn't always what I thought people wanted to hear about. Momentum begets momentum. And conversely, momentum, when you're not in momentum, you are going to be tempted to start and stop. I watch a lot of people start things, not see the results they think it's supposed to have quickly, pull themselves out, chase the next bright, shiny object, and then wonder why they're not seeing traction. They're not seeing results. Look, when you are in it for the long haul, you focus on the long game and there's ups and downs. It's like anything you invest in. If you invest in the stock market, you're going to see high months and low months. You're not focused on the movement every week, every month, every day. You're looking at the long game and where you're going. And that's what this is about. When you do something for the long term in business, you have to focus on the momentum, the current you're riding, what you're keeping focused on down the road, not what's showing up right now. Now, what's showing up right now is information. It is not a stop sign. And when you start and stop your podcast, your program, your collaboration, whatever it is, because right now you're having the appearance that it's not working, you are short circuiting its life force before it's had a chance to fully develop. So I learned how to be someone that could carry the momentum, focus on the long game, stay plugged into the outcome and the possibility and the goal, even in the appearance that something might not be working. Because the better question is, instead of stopping, you say, what do I need to do differently right now to get closer to the results I want? Let that sink in for a moment. So that was my first kind of my growth and the observation I have in the industry right now, and where maybe my growth could be a influential factor for your own. Now, the second is something I didn't quite see that it was going to unfold like this, but once the podcast really started to develop momentum, I started to hear from clients who chose to work with me how it had become my invisible sales force. It is a content ecosystem. A podcast is part of it. This is why I like Substack so much, because it's integrated already. But my podcast has become part of my ecosystem because I recognized that when people met me somewhere else, they heard me speak on a stage, they heard me speak on a virtual event, they heard me speak on someone else's podcast, that if I really built my golden thread properly, they would end up on my podcast, listening to it and binging it to decide if they were going to work with me. And my podcast could do the heavy lifting. It could help me build rapport. I was literally in someone's ear, spending time with them without me being present, obviously, but building a connectivity and a relationship while they were deciding if they were going to work with me. And I could give you multiple examples of how this worked. Your podcast, when you have shown up and you've designed your content properly and you've structured the way it is delivered inside your ecosystem, it should be selling people on you. Now, even like we can take AI citing and discoverability, and having a podcast is even more valuable and important. It is your invisible sales force, but it does have to be done in a way that continues to position you as the authority, as the expert. And one of the keys to that is specificity. You cannot cover every subject under the sun. You cannot go completely off the rails and have it perform for you. You do need to have it be a reflection of the expertise you bring to them. Let's move on to number 3. As you could probably imagine, at a top 1%, and I think this starts really kicking in around top 10%, or if you're really good at creating visibility for your show, you're going to start getting a lot of people pitching to be on your show or pitching their clients to be on your show. And inherently, that's not a bad thing. But what I notice is not every guest is really there for the right reasons, or at least the reasons I want for my show and for you as the listener. And I recognize that record and dash guests taught me a lot about who to trust. Look, it's a little bit of a sting when somebody asks to be on your show and they say, oh yeah, we're going to co-create this valuable episode. I'll absolutely share it. And they don't. And I'm not the only one that struggled with that over the years. Luckily, it's not been the biggest problem, but it certainly is an ongoing issue in our industry. And I get it. Like, people are like, I'm on all these shows. How do I give them all airtime on my social media? Because a lot of guests are taught to borrow your audience to get in front of the people that could buy from them. They have not been taught how to collaborate. Record and dash guests taught me a lot about collaboration. They taught me the importance of saying up front, like what my expectations are and to hold them to that. Like I had a really, really big name in our industry pitch me to be on the show recently. And I was very clear. I said, sure, I'd love to have you. And my expectation is that you're going to share it. And when they don't respond, that tells me that's not part of what they'd like out of the deal. Collaboration, if that's important to you, has to be set up front. You have to set the expectations properly. And secondly, it taught me a lot about like what's being experienced by the show hosts that I was a guest on. Now, I will fully admit there were times where I probably didn't show up the way I should have and could have in the early days because I didn't know. I didn't host a show. And I learned that I needed to lean in and do better. I needed to be the kind of guest that I wanted on my show. Now, this leads me to number 4, and that is how important it is to vet your guests. Again, I will admit, early on, didn't really think this one through. It's like, great subject. I think this could be good for the show. Okay, like we're going to do a cross swap of shows. Great. I didn't have the context for how important it is to make sure that the guests I have on my show are people that I would want to introduce you to do business with. I mean, it's obvious, right? And now when we vet guests, we have so much due diligence we do. First of all, we want to make sure that they really match what it is they say they do. I want to make sure the energy that they bring to their marketing is in congruency with what I stand for. I will not bring a guest on this show that doesn't embody the values that I stand for. If I can vet it out and make sure it's aligned, I will absolutely say no if it's not a fit. Vetting is crucial. It's so crucial. This is actually one of the resources that we have inside the paid Growth Fuel channel on Substack is an entire guest management system because it's such a key part of doing collaborations well when you're interviewing somebody and you're turning them into a podcast because they are borrowing your authority. My guests are borrowing my authority. They're borrowing the trust that we've developed over the years. And I want to make sure that I can stand behind them. And I want you to do the same when you host your shows. And I highly recommend if you're thinking about doing the paid level, grab that as it's one of the perks inside of the Growth Fuel channel right now. Learn how to vet so it fits your values and they make a good guest for the show. Now, the last discovery, this is really kind of on a thread of what I discovered by interviewing so many guests, but also being a guest on so many other people's shows. I personally started to recognize that many of the guests that were coming on my show were a hot mess. With all the love in my heart, they were winging it. They were dropping fire hose details that made no sense. They were, chasing all kinds of crazy details. And I was like confused on the show when I was interviewing them. And I could only imagine as the listener what it was like. And I started to realize that they didn't have what I call a magnetic guest talk. They were just showing up and winging it because they thought, I can have a conversation with anybody. That's not what gets you ROI. And what I discovered after about halfway, into maybe the 200th, 250th episode, I need to do something about this. And my convictions dropped in. My passion for not just being an interesting guest, but being a guest that can actually help somebody solve a problem and being able to create a really energetic and high value conversation that makes people want to take that next step. Yeah, I'm all in. I want that. And that's what was the spark behind creating my Authority Accelerator program, because I could help people take that winging it, being all over the board, not really having clarity, specificity, or any kind of structure that made me clear, oh, this is what you can do for me. And I gave them frameworks that helped them actually convert leads from their presence on someone else's platform. That to me was pure gold. It's one of the most beautiful gems out of this journey is being on both sides of the microphone. I have this unique lens into what's working, what's not working. I know what I accept for pitches. I know what like lights me up when I listen to somebody, and I know what types of conversations I'm airing that actually lead to clients because my guests tell me so. And I could see the gap between what other people were doing and what was working. And to me, that was one of the best evolutions that I got. One of the best gifts that I got out of this journey so far was recognizing that I could actually help people take these fun conversations and turn it into a 24/7 client attraction system. So that's what I do. That's what I do in Authority Accelerator, and I love it. And there's so much that goes inside of that from really like learning to tell stories properly, knowing what frameworks to use, knowing how to really just handle the conversation in a way that you are injecting your power and your the possibility of working with you, but doing it in such an organic and joyful way that people get massive value. So those are some of the discoveries. Those are the top discoveries that I really have experienced being a host. But most importantly is like how important community is. I'm going to give a bonus. Community is so powerful. And I really feel like we've created a type of community here as amplifiers, but I'm so passionate about community, and I really feel like where we're going as a society, community is the future. And we need to keep bringing community to our clients, to our audiences. And that's why I'm all in on Substack, because it's one of the easiest ways to create community. So as I close today, I just want to close with a lot of gratitude. Thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up. I hope you'll join me in celebrating over on the Growth Field channel. I'll make sure it's linked up here, but you can also look for me at Coach Melanie Benson on Substack. I highly recommend that you upgrade to paid so you can get the really cool bonuses and whatever way you want to stay connected in Substack and here. I'm just excited to be on this journey with you. I'll be back next week with another really, really powerful episode. Thank you. And please help me celebrate this massive win. If there's an episode that you've really loved, tell me about it. I want to just hear what's been meaningful and valuable for you on this journey to 500 episodes.